Thanks, Curtis. Now, two men with a combination of 80 years of experience working with firearms have created a new nonprofit organization to help take unwanted guns off the streets. MTN's Lindsay Ford speaks to Bruce Seiler, one of the founders of the National Center of Unwanted Firearms, about how they are working to keep guns out of the wrong hands.
Over the weekend, the new Helena-based nonprofit, the National Center for Unwanted Firearms, participated in the March for Our Lives rally in Washington, D.C.
We're a non-political organization. We don't take sides. Obviously, I've been pro-gun. I made a career of it.
The idea for the National Center of Unwanted Firearms started back in 2009, but it wasn't until last year the organization became official. Bruce Seiler and Chip Ayers are co-founders. Both worked for the U.S. Secret Service. Seiler was an armor ordnance specialist.
So who better than I to know what's junk and what's not, and what's worth keeping? So rather than some legislator make that decision, we thought we would accept some responsibility as a manufacturer, start a nonprofit that helps dispose of firearms and be a junkyard for firearms in America.
People can submit a gun and choose to have it sold or destroyed. If the gun has historical value, they will help find its way to the museum.
This is a 1947 Winchester Model 52 target rifle.
These are examples of guns they have collected and destroyed.
I think about all the issues, and I think about all the manufacturers I've dealt with in the firearms industry, and so they're making them. Who's getting rid of them? And there's a lot of junk out there, and we don't want them to fall into the wrong hands.
In some cases, the guns they receive may be made available to law enforcement for training. Another part of the mission of the National Center for Unwanted Firearms is to promote gun safety in the home.
We have a state that's unique because we have senators and congressmen that are aware of the hunting and the firearms. We don't look at firearms in Montana the way they do in the inner cities. I was 9 when I had my first firearm. My father was an ordnance colonel.
Seiler said back in his time, people valued guns differently.
And we had responsibility. Now they can fall into the wrong hands. Times have changed.
In Helena, Lindsay Ford, MTN News.
Seiler tells us they will also offer consultations to collectors on the safest way to sell their firearms. They recently advised a Washington, D.C. man with over 200 guns to use a federal firearms licensee to help transfer the guns to avoid liability should the guns fall into the wrong hands.